This is video number 20 for the playlist of 3D Experience CATIA generated shape design application, but the playlist that is devoted to the surface tab of the bottom ribbon on the screen. The icon that we're going to be discussing is called Fill, F-I-L-L, and in fact, although I consider it to be as one of the more advanced icons, but still not that bad. We'll do some examples to see what's going on. So at the bottom of the screen, when you're in generative shape design within 3D Experience CATIA, you see the ribbon that's shown here. And if you select the surface tab, you get some tools in order to make surfaces. And the particular icon that we're looking at is FILL. In the previous two videos, we have done the previous few videos actually. We have done multi-section uh, surfaces and blend. Now we're going to do fill, F-I-L-L. Now, when you click on the icon, you get this dialog box showing up, and notice that at the very bottom it says inner boundaries and advanced option. So we'll come to that in a minute. If one activates the advanced options, it's possible to include points and curves that the surface has to pass through. And if one looks at the inner boundary, it's possible to have surfaces that are not simply connected. We'll see that. Now, uh, some of the stuff for CATIA V5 appears in this tutorial, in this YouTube link, and there's some stuff done on the FILL by this YouTuber, but these are dating back a few years, so even in the 3D experience down here, the dialog boxes may look different. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some example. What I'm going to do is I will make, first of all, right now, a sketch, a closed, well, I'll make a profile. And on purpose, I'm not going to close it. I will leave it like that. Exit. So we have a profile here. And if we click on the FILL and we say, okay, fill this thing with a surface, it's going to come back. I'm going to say, well, I can't do that because this is not a closed profile. So the first thing that you should know, your profile must be closed. Now, let me say okay and cancel that. So for closing this thing, I can go to that sketch and making sure that it's closed, or I can even go and draw a line here, for example, from this point to that point, if I wanted to. Now it's closed. So if you go to FILL, surface, and try to fill it, we're going to take that sketch, and we also have to take this line so that it becomes a closed curve. And if I say preview, it's going to put a surface through it. Okay? So let me go ahead and show you how you can make your surface pass through some elements that you're going to be selecting. For example, I'm going to draw a spline here. All right, exit. And I will also create a line above this surface, so above the sketch. So let me go ahead and select this, a line. Let me move it up by some amount there. And on this thing, I'm going to draw a curve. For example, a spline or something like it, a straight line, spline, doesn't matter. All right, good. Now, I also want to create a point up here somewhere above this surface. So for example, let me go to wireframe and create a point. And what I'm going to do with coordinates, I'll put down, for example, maybe 50 height. All right. And maybe I'll move it a little bit to the left or to the right by, let's say, 20 to the right. There we go. So we have a point here, and we have a curve, and there's a sketch that we did down here. So let's go ahead to surface. Let's go to surface, fill, and what I'm going to do as the outer boundary, I select the sketch that I drew, and for passing elements, select this. I'm going to make this, for example, spline that I drew there, and I say preview. Look what happened. What it did, it made my surface pass through that. Let me also add, as another element, add this point, okay? So over here, I add another point to it, right there. And right now, it is not passing through that point, but when I say preview, it should go past through that point. There we are. Okay, see what happened? For example, if I go change this point, let me make it 50. I mean, if you put a ridiculous number, obviously it's going to fall apart. There we are. Notice that the surface passed through this and through that. Good. Let's do another one. Let me start another thing. And I want to talk about inside and outside boundary. Incidentally, before I do that, let me point out to you that the sketch that I drew and made the surface go through it, which means fill it, it just happened in the last two examples to be on a plane here, but it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be plane. It can be a 3D not surface curve. So let's to see that. Let's go ahead and do it. Let me create a bunch of points here. I'll go to wireframe, create a bunch of points. For example, on this plane, let's say a point like that. Another one on this plane, excuse me, like this. Another one maybe on this plane like so. Let me add a couple more, maybe one here. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So I have in this case, four points in space. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a spline go through them. So under wireframe, let's find the spline. Where's the spline? See if I can find the spline here. Wow. Wireframe. Wow, this is kind of hard to find. Where is it? Oh, must be down here. Yeah. Under this pull-up menu, spline, I select these points, 1, 2, 3, 4, and let me also close it right there. So what we have is a surface or a curve in space. This is not in a plane. Now this is a curve in space, but we can still make a surface go through it. So if you go to surface, fill, and you select that entire spline, preview, you can see that this is a surface in space that we could impose on that closed curve. Okay, there is one other thing that I wanted to point out here. Let me delete this. Let me delete this and these points, because I want to point out to a message that's sometimes popping up when you try to make the surface go through an element. Let me go through the example, very similar to the one initially did on that plane. I sketch. Let me go and draw a spline here. Okay. And in fact, if I just say tangent, yeah, if I just say tangent, it's going to make a tangent. So it's going to be nice, close, smooth curve. Exit. All right. What I'm going to do is create a point a point up here. So let me go to wireframe, a point by coordinates, and I'm going to move it up. So let me take it to some height. Maybe I'll make it 80, somewhere there. Now suppose this is you can see that this is a plain sketch. Now I go to surface and fill and select that sketch, and as passing element I select this point and see what happens. That's fine, no problem. Now suppose I take this point and move it further up. So let's move it up. There reaches a point where this message pops up, and of course what it's saying is that I can't do that. So I can't do that. So if you go back to that point, and reduce the height, at some point you don't get that message. Okay? Let me do another one. Yeah. So I'm gonna delete this fill. All right. And I'm gonna change the coordinate of this. Let me move it. Let me move it to some location and move it, say, by a height of 120. Well, I'll make it 130. Okay, good. So it's somewhere up there. Now, we go to fill, select the curve. For the passing element, select this point and say preview. And notice it says I can't do it. So what happens is that if you say fine, let me move that coordinate down. Okay, so let me cancel that, or okay, no problem. Let's bring it down to some other location further down. So let me make it 150. Still no good. 100. Still no good. Bring it down. No good. There reaches a point where this message disappears, and in fact, I can see the surface. Now, if you Google that message, what that message says, this is what you're going to get. Show you something here. Right there. If you Google that message, it says this appears in programs like CATIA when you do field surface, etc. And there is an explanation here, which means absolutely nothing. Okay, so basically you change the position of that point that reaches a point, that reaches a location, but from that point on, you can include the element within your surface. Okay. All right. Good. So let's move on. I've got something else to do. Let me delete this. Okay. And I'm going to delete that point also. Delete. Okay. So what I have here is a sketch which happens to be closed. That's fine. But then I'm going to make another sketch on the same plane. This was on the XY plane. I'll make another sketch on the XY plane. Let's say a circle. Exit. And another sketch on that same plane. This is not in the same sketch. It's in the same plane, like that. And exit. Okay. So now when we go to surfaces and do fill, there are outer boundaries and there are inner boundaries. The outer boundary is this big curve that I have here. For the inner boundary, I select that and that. And let's see what happens. Preview. This is what you get. Okay. Very good. This also applies in 3D. And what do I mean by that? So let me go ahead and uh, delete this. Okay. And delete these two sketches. Delete the sketch. Suppose I go to a height. Suppose I go to a height there. And on that, I sketch something, maybe a circle. And exit. Okay. So I can go to surface and fill. There is the outer boundary, which is here. And there's the inner boundary, which is this. And say preview. There we are. See this? Let's do something else. So on that plane, let me actually go make another plane offset from this. So for example, wireframe, plane, offset from this. I'll make it maybe something like that. And on it, I will sketch, let's say, a rectangle, like so. Exit. Okay. So if you double click on this last fill, I want to include this thing as an inner boundary. The problem is that because it was created after the fill, I won't be able to see that, won't be able to pick it. So what I can do is I can reorder this. Let me reorder both of these so that they go before the fill. So after maybe sketch 4. Good. Now, if you double click on that, you can actually, as the inner boundary, you can select another sketch. That is this sketch, that's this rectangle. And preview. And we say, okay. Yeah, let me bring it in here. In-work object. There we are. All right, so this inner and outer boundary is very useful. You can create holes, and again, you can add a point. Let's go ahead and do that. Let me go up here. So define in-work object. Let me create a point. That may be too high. Bring it down. Remember, at some point it may not work, but let me bring it down further and see what happens. Say okay. So go to fill, and as passing element include that point and preview. Oops. Define in-work object. There we are. So it goes through that point. It has these two as inner boundary and the big curve out there as the outer boundary. Okay, this is the last example that I'm going to be doing for this particular video, number 20 on fill. And I want to talk a little bit about this particular space here, where you're talking about inner boundary or the space out here that's outer boundary. You'll see why I'm doing it this way, because it's going to come into the presentation. So first of all, on the horizontal plane, I will sketch, okay? I'll sketch uh, something like that, profile. All right, exit. And on the same plane, I'll sketch another line like this, and I want to make sure that that fellow coincides with that guy. So right click coincide, exit, and finally I'm going to connect this point to that point with a line. So on the essential wireframe, a line. I'm not doing it as a sketch. I'm going from this point to that point. So basically I have one sketch. Let me see now. This sketch is those two lines in the same plane. This sketch is just the right line, and this is just a standard line. Okay, good. Now I'm going to create some stuff up here. So plane offset from this plane. Let's see where I am. Okay, very good. And on this plane, I will sketch. How about a maybe elongated hole like that? Doesn't matter. It can be a rectangle or circle. Good. Move this thing a little bit there. Exit. All right. Now I'm going to take another plane a little bit off this, and on it I will draw. Well, actually, let me do it like this. On this plane, I will create 3 points. See now, point on this plane, one like that, another one on this plane like this, and the last one on the same plane. Actually, let me do it on a different plane, on this bottom plane, like so. Exit. Okay. Now, here's what happened. I drew this bottom piece, which is made of sketch 1, sketch 2, and a line. Then I made this elongated hole on sketch 3. See that? Then I went and I created 3 points in space, like what you're seeing. They're not on the same plane. There's 3 arbitrary points. Now I'm going to create lines from here to here. That's one line. And then from here to here, second line. And then from here to here, third line, and done. Okay, so let me hide this plane. Let me hide that plane. Let me hide all these 3 planes. Okay, so now we're going to go to surfaces, fill, this, that, that. Okay, this was the outer boundary. So for the inner boundary, I'm going to select this elongated hole. Goes there. Now I want to add another boundary made of these 3 lines. So I say add a boundary, and now I'm going to select these edges, this line, zoom in, this line, and that line, which makes a closed surface, not surface, closed area, curve, and preview, and then OK. So what I wanted to show you in this example was that when you do these things, you may have to uh, fool around with the add boundary, etc., to help you get it to work. Because I did not want to, do that elongated hole and in the same one add these two. It just didn't make sense. Let me show you what they've gone wrong. Okay, so preview, no problem. Let's go back here and then try to add these things. It works, except that it's going to put it in a separate boundary. Like I was trying, I was thinking about maybe it's going to put it in boundary one. It doesn't. It puts it in another boundary. So that's what the purpose of this add boundary is, if you ever wondered why. Good, folks. So that's pretty much it. This concludes the tutorials on the tutorial video 20 on the fill operation.